Hello and welcome to Color Multimedia Enterprises. My name is Luke, also known as January, and in this tutorial we will be taking a look at CSV Data, which is a different kind of data that uses rows and columns and using a common delimiter such as a comma, for example, which separates rows and columns, as I mentioned. And we're also going to take a look into a little bit about cameras. Eventually we'll go on to actually organizing our code a bit more so that we can actually go into making our game a bit more organized, to say the least. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so as mentioned in the tutorial video, we're going to take a look at a different type of data. So I've edited the dungeon map.json file, and it is now in the form of CSV, which is basically it uses a delimiter to split data among rows and columns, and we will also have sort of a new line character or line feed or carriage return, whatever you want to call it. Obviously it depends on the editor. In this case it says CRLF at the bottom, but it actually uses new line, which is fine, so we can just use that. The reason why I know is because I did do a video on this earlier and I mucked up the audio for some odd reason. I had to reinstall the drivers, didn't realise that the microphone levels were down, and when I tested the video, well, let's just say there was no sound. So I pretty much know exactly what's going to happen in this particular tutorial, so I will not be going in blind. This is the second time it's happened and I'm infuriated, but still. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new function called drawMap from CSV, and that is going to take one parameter, which is a map path. So we're going to get the path of the map. We are going to get the content of whatever is in that path. So we're going to do var contents is equal to get assets.getText, and we're going to pass in the map path variable there. We're also going to get a rows, which is going to be an array of type string, and that is going to be equal to contents.split, and the delimiter is going to be a new line. So once we've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to iterate through that row, or each row, shall I say, and we're going to say var columns, and that is going to be again of type array string, and that is going, so we're going to take each row and we're going to split that once again by the comma. So as you can probably imagine, we're basically taking a look at each row, or technically each line, and then we're going to split that up. Then we're going to take a look at each column, and then we're going to split that up by the commas here. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to do another loop through columns, and that needs to be dot length. Okay, so in here what I'm going to do is I want to basically say tile sheets dot draw tiles, and the parameters are going to be this graphics, and as we see up here in the other function where we got draw map, we've got tile.x, tile.y as table.get, right? In here we're going to do it a bit differently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have an x and a y. So I'm going to say var x is equal to 0, var y is equal to 0 at the top here, and x is going to equal I. Alternatively, we can just do I times offset x. as we mentioned in, or as I mentioned in the previous tutorial, the offset X and the offset Y is the width and height of each tile. So in this case it's going to be 32 by 32, and we're going to do J times offset at Y. And in the last one, what we want to do is we want to convert the string that we get from each column. So we're going to say columns J, like that, and close the parenthesis, and then that is then pretty much done. So all we need to do in the original code, if we go back to main, so once I've corrected this bit, so just save that. So if we go back to main, what we've got here is just draw map at the moment. So instead I'm going to change that to draw map from CSV. And okay, I'm just going to comment that out just briefly and then show you how we can scale the map in a moment. So let's build this and see what happens. So once this is built, we will be able to take a look at the results. Okay, so if we go in here, go to RPG tutorial.exe. So as you can see, it's drawn this tile map, which I have defined in the CSV file. Now, as you can see, this map isn't stretching to the edge of the screen, which is what we would otherwise want. What we also don't have is obviously when we resize the window, this isn't resized with it. So there's a few things we need to do. First of all, we're going to get our base width and base height back, so I'm just going to comment that back out. And then I'm going to say in here map.scalex is equal to, so obviously we know tilemap is a sprite, so that we can actually access this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say underscore map.scalex, and that's going to equal lib.current stage width, or base width divided by underscore map.width, and the same with scale y. And there's a reason why this will not work, and I know why. So never mind. The reason why it won't work is because when we define when we do the draw tiles, we're passing in the graphics, and when we draw those tiles, it's going to be fixed. We can't actually control that, so we're going to have to do it a completely different way at some point, so that we can actually do the stretching properly. But for the time being, I'm just going to leave it at that, and then instead what I'm going to do is actually just do this map.scale x, map.scale y, and the base width don't know if I should redefine that or not. Actually, let's omit this and actually take a look at the results, because there were two different ways of doing this. There was this way, which is this now, or setting the base width and the base height to the width and height of the map. But let's just check this and see the results of this. It shouldn't be much different than the other version, now that I think about it. In fact, it shouldn't make much of a difference. Okay. So when we resize it, yeah, it doesn't make a difference at all. Okay, that's fine. So basically, what we want now is to make it so that our 32 by 32 tiles get stretched, and as we resize game screen and stuff like that. So as a matter of fact, I think I quite like that. But what I would like to do is create sort of a canvas that limits the amount of tiles that you can actually see on the screen. So we actually have sort of a scroll rect, let's say. So we put our map inside of another sprite, which we then center into the RPG tutorial game. So let's actually do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take our actually I'm just going to make a new variable. Why not? Let's do it at the top. So we've got private var. Let's call this a camera. Might as well be. That's going to be out for sprites. So let's do camera.newSprite. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say graphics.beginFill. Oh no, not bitmap fill. BeginFill. And I'm just going to do that. Then I'm going to do camera.graphics dot draw rect, and in here I'm just going to say 0 0, and what I want to do is take the width and height of each tile and multiply that by the amount of tiles that I want to see. So let's actually bring that down here and do map.offsetx multiplied by, let's say 15. That's limited by 15 for each row, and then let's say map.offset y, and we'll make this 10. So put it 12. We'll see. We will see. So once we've done that, what we will do is, instead of adding the map to the main, we're going to say camera.addChild. That's going to be map. What I'm also going to do is define a scroll rect. Now, scroll rect allows us to make a rectangle that will basically define where we can scroll to. So eventually what we will do is we will create an actual camera class where we will be able to move the camera around as we move the player around by modifying this scroll rect value. So to start with, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say scroll rect is equal to, well, whatever these values are. In fact, I don't even need this, now that I think about it. And now we'll just add the child of camera to our main screen, and now, last but by no means least, we want to center it. So we're going to say camera.x is equal to lib.current.stage width divided by 2 minus camera.width divided by 2, and the same with the y as well. So we're going to say camera.y is equal to lib.current.stage height. And that's going to be camera.height divided by 2. Okay, so let's take a look at these results and see what it looks like now. I'm actually doing a bit more in this because we're actually adding cameras and stuff now. Obviously I'm not going to go into too much detail in this particular tutorial because this tutorial was originally going to just be an explanation on how to use a different form of data, which we will be using for the rest of the game. this is the fastest way to draw tiles, essentially, in a way, if that makes sense. Okay, that's built. So let's take a look at the results. Oh, interesting. Huh. Well, we know it's resizing. For some reason, the camera's not located in the center of the screen for some reason. That's weird. Huh. That is weird. Did I build that? Pretty sure I did. Although no, I probably didn't. Pretty sure I did. Did I press up and enter? I'm pretty sure I did. So it's divided by 2. Yep. So that should technically center in the screen. Interesting. So let me double click. Is it? No, it's not. Wow. What the hell's going on here? Okay, I'm going to do a trace on this because this is weird. So trace camera.x. Now, this is one way of debugging. It's not the best way, but it's one way. So what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to basically say, okay, Nico, I want you to print out a line in the console. Now, if you saw, there's two windows that appear when we build Nico. That's not the case with Windows. Nico is actually a good environment for debugging for this reason. So let's take a look. main.hx73. So as you can see, when we trace it, the output is 0 for some reason, and that is really odd. Why has it done that for? We know stage width is going to be 848 when we start it up, so divide that by 2. That is in fact going to... Oh, wait. Okay, now I'm curious. Camera.width. Normally when you add children to a sprite, the width and height of the sprite itself will adjust according to the total amount of children it has. But it doesn't look like it's doing that in this case for some reason, and I'm really not sure why. So, let's do, to be fair, I could just remove that build and call it test instead, but oh well. Oh well. Okay, let's take a look. That's 848. The camera is 848. Right, so when we... Oh my god. Okay. I'm not sure what the problem is. Oh yes, of course. Tile sheets. Yes, we can't do that. Damn it. Okay. Never mind. I thought I had it, but I didn't. Never mind. So, hopefully you have an idea of what's going on here. I think I'll just... Oh, I was not meant to do that. I know how to do this, so what we'll do is we'll just get these values here. So I'll just create 2 more variables which will get these values. So I'm just going to say width is equal to that, var height is equal to that. So we'll say width there, height there. It's a bit ambiguous. Let's make it camera width and camera height. So just copy and paste that. So in here what I'm going to do is just say camera height divided by 2 and camera width divided by 2. So that should now technically work and center our camera properly. which is what we wanted to begin with. But as I mentioned, we'll probably go on to creating our own camera class anyway. Okay, so now let's take a look at the results. Yeah, there we go, that's a bit better. So now, oh, well, yeah, we'll fix that problem in another place, or maybe I'll do it myself at some point. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.